Is Dr. Mark Bingle with Rainier Chiropractic Clinic in Yelm, Washington. And if you're watching this, that means that you're at the end of week 2 of our Clearvite Detox for 2016. So congratulations on getting through week 2. For a lot of people, it's actually the toughest week because it's the meat-free week. Going vegetarian for a lot of people is really, really tough. And just not having the meat as a protein source can be really difficult for a lot of people. Not knowing what other vegetables, what other things that they can add, more nuts and beans and stuff to try to fulfill the protein needs of the body, while letting the body do its thing and kind of flush out and maintaining energy levels. So it can be a really tough week if you're a coffee drinker. The first 4 days were probably the toughest. If you're a meat eater, second week is usually the toughest. So congratulations on getting through it. Week 3 coming up. Good times because now we get to go back and it looks a lot like week 1. So the first 3 days, you're going to now do 2 servings of Clearvite before breakfast and before dinner, just like before, about 10 minutes before. Like I said, I do it with coconut water, do it with shakes, whatever you want. Also, now you're able to add back in all the meat sources that were allowed in week 1. So week 3, just like I said, looks just like week 1. The last 4 days, now you'll just drop down to 1 serving of Clearvite just before breakfast again and ride that out through the end. So when the end of the detox comes, I get a lot of questions on what to do to maintain weight loss, what to do to maintain energy levels. A lot of people feel so much better by the time they get done that they like that feeling, they want it to continue. Now, detoxing year-round isn't necessarily a good thing, so we wouldn't want you taking a product that's going to kind of push the liver to work harder year-round. But that diet is doable without the protein powder. You could add in whey protein if you're not allergic to dairy, hemp or pea protein, rice protein. You could get something else and make your own shakes in the morning, and then it would be just like being on the Clearvite. So that's one way to do it. We're going to give some other diet options as well. First one I talk about usually is the elimination diet. And so this is what the Clearvite system is nice because it flushes all those toxins from the body, as well as over that 21 days without gluten and dairy and soy and all these allergen-rich foods. The body actually clears out the antibodies that are left behind from those. And usually it takes 10 to 21 days to clear out all of those. So now at day 21, you're getting a fresh start, and this is a great time to see if you're allergic to anything. So a lot cheaper than doing a blood test or anything like that. So now if you want to try to see if you're allergic to foods, you'd add them in one at a time, and the way it looks is like this. So detox ends day 21. Day 22, what you do is actually eat 2 servings of whatever that food is. So if it's gluten, for example, you could have a slice of toast with breakfast and then have a sandwich or something with lunch. And then after that, don't eat gluten for a few days. And what you're going to do over the rest of that day and the next couple days is see if you have a reaction to it. If you were sleeping great during the detox, and then you add the gluten back in and your sleep is broken, you wake up feeling tired again, you feel restless, just fatigue in the middle of the day, allergies start to come back, bowel movements become irregular. Things like that show that the body has an allergic reaction, even if it doesn't show up in a rash or difficulty breathing. So a lot of times we can have an internal reaction and not really know it, but once you start to think about the way your body's feeling, you'll be like, oh wow, I am slightly allergic to that. And so it'd go like that for each food. So basically you wait till that reaction stops, so you let the gluten get back out of the system. Then you'd add in dairy and do the same thing. 2 servings of dairy, breakfast, lunch, watch the symptoms again. So that's one way to do an elimination diet. You can find all kinds of other ways online or a better description of how to do that, but that's typically the easiest way to do it. Other things we'll talk about is what other diets can people just transition right into that'll kind of keep weight off or keep their brain feeling as clear or keep their energy levels up and not feel bogged down because of the carbohydrates and starches that are normally in a lot of diets. And so there's really 3 that I like. We did 2 of them last year. We talked about paleo and we talked about primal blueprint a little bit. Paleo, the kind of idea behind it is it was the way that men were supposed to eat. So the way people were supposed to eat was to hunt their food and gather their berries and vegetables and different things. So the majority of the diet was actually your fat, your protein, and your vegetables, with a very, very small portion being any kind of carbohydrates. And that would still be in the form of gluten-free, so it'd be your rice, your quinoa, potatoes and stuff like that, but no white bread or any heavy starches like that. So paleo is really kind of specific on what they allow and what they don't. Primal Blueprint's a little bit close to paleo too. The nice thing about Primal Blueprint though is it adds in more saturated fats and red meats, different types of red meat. So your kind of fattier cuts of meat. Fats are really beneficial to the body, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be, we always think, oh, fish oil is the only good one, or, you know, people are always saying eat more fish, and there's really quite a few other fats that are very beneficial, and so Primal also takes into play that some saturated fats in the diet are actually good for us. It's been back and forth with research over the years, but they're starting to look at, we do need some saturated fats, we need unsaturated fats, we need polyunsaturated fats, we need, you know, different lengths of those triglycerides too to maintain different tissue in our body. So that's another great one to look into, and each one of those, they have their own authors and their own books and stuff, and so if you're really interested, you know, maybe start looking on Amazon, or local bookstores usually have the copies. They're both really popular. The third one also really popular now, and what I've been currently doing for probably the last 6 to 8 months at least, is what's called a bulletproof diet. And so bulletproof diet takes into account the fact that the most important system in our body is our nervous system, and our nerves and our brain basically run everything throughout our body. It runs every other system. It runs our cardiovascular system, it runs our muscular system. So if we're starting to look at what's going to have the greatest impact that I can put in my body for the overall outcome, we're going to look at neuron health and brain health. And so bulletproof diet's really, really high in healthy fats. And fats in general, for that matter. You're allowed to have butter, you're allowed to have fats on your cuts of meat, you're allowed mayonnaise, you're allowed a lot of foods that most of these diets are kind of no-no. The only difference is that it's very low carb too. So the majority of the calories in the day are all from fat and protein. So mostly fat, so about 65 to 70% of the diet's fat, about 20% is protein, and about 5% is carbohydrates. So if you're a big fan of carbs, not the easiest diet, but it will give you the most energy, it'll keep you the leanest, it'll make your brain the most clear too. You feel like your thinking is a lot better. So with Bulletproof, that's another one. There's books for it, and another great thing you can kind of research into. But I just like that it keeps us really light during the day. Those of you that know me, we know our office is very busy, and I basically sprint around in there sometimes. So mornings, I mean, I won't even have carbohydrates till about lunchtime, and I still have plenty of energy to get through the day. And so just breakfast is all fat and protein. But anyway, those are a few different diets that you can look into. There's a few other ones out there. I mean, there's some older ones, Beachbody, there's blood type dieting. I mean, you can really look into a lot of different ones at this point. Starting on day 22 though, that's when you'd want to do it. You don't want to have this nice clean system, eat like crap again for a while, and then transition into another diet. So this is the perfect time to start looking into what the next plan is. For those of you that are interested, I talked about the Repair Vite last time we did the video. And Repair Vite is basically a replacement for the Clear Vite. The way that system works is you keep the anti-inflammatory diet going. You are going to start taking the Repair Vite, and the servings are on the bottle and everything, and it tells you how to take it. But basically that's keeping with the anti-inflammatory diet will keep the gut really clean, and then the Repair Vite actually goes in and heals the gut, the stomach, the intestinal lining, and some of those internal organs that can cause a lot of autoimmune responses. So if anybody's got more questions on that, you can feel free to email me or grab me in the office for a minute. Anyway, hope the video is helpful. Look forward to getting feedback from everybody after this last week. Excited to eat meat again, and back on proteins, and should make workouts a lot easier. Increase the fats a little bit, just to keep the brain clear if you're not getting enough energy. And we'll see again in a week or so. I'm going to do kind of a wrap up. It'll just be pretty brief, and hopefully I'll have some feedback in by then and I can share with everybody. So if there's any questions, as always, I'm going to put my email on the bottom of the screen here. And hope everybody has a great third week, and we'll see you at the end of this. All right.